It's July the 13th, 2021, and our reading in 2 Samuel today is in chapter 11. In the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab out with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. They destroyed the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah, but David remained in Jerusalem. One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. The man said, "Isn't this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite?" Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. She had purified herself from her uncleanness. Then she went back home. The woman conceived and sent word to David, saying, "I am pregnant." So David sent his word to Joab, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." And Joab sent him to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked him how Joab was, how the soldiers were, and how the war was going. Then David said to Uriah, "Go down to your house and wash your feet." So Uriah left the palace, and a gift from the king was sent after him. But Uriah slept at the entrance to the palace with all his master's servants and did not go down to his house. When David was told Uriah did not go home, he asked him, "Haven't you just come from a distance? Why didn't you go home?" Uriah said to David, "The ark and Israel and Judah are staying in tents, and my master Joab and my lord's men are camped in the open fields. How could I go to my house to eat and drink and lie with my wife? As surely as you live, I will not do such a thing." Then David said to him, "Stay here one more day, and tomorrow I will send you back." So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. At David's invitation, he ate and drank with him, and David made him drunk. But in the evening, Uriah went out to sleep on the mat among his master's servants. He did not go home. In the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it with Uriah. In it he wrote, "Put Uriah in the front line where the fighting is fiercest. Then withdraw from him so that he will be struck down and die." So while Joab had the city under siege, he put Uriah at a place where he knew the strongest defenders were. When the men of the city came out and fought against Joab, some of the men in David's army fell. Moreover, Uriah the Hittite died. Joab sent David a full account of the battle. He instructed the messenger, "When you have finished giving the king this account of the battle, the king's anger may flare up, and he may ask you, 'Why did you get so close to the city to fight? Didn't you know they would shoot arrows from the wall? Who killed Abimelech, son of Jerub-Besheth? Didn't a woman throw an upper millstone on him from the wall so that he died in Thebes? Why did you get so close to the wall?' If he asks you this, then say to him, 'Also your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead.'" The messenger sent out, and when he arrived, he told David everything Joab had sent him to say. The messenger said to David, "The men overpowered us and came out against us in the open, but we drove them back to the entrance to the city gate. Then the archers shot arrows at your servants from the wall, and some of the king's men died. Moreover, your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead." David told the messenger, "Say this to Joab, 'Don't let this upset you. The sword devours one as well as another. Press the attack against the city and destroy it.' Say this to encourage Joab." When Uriah's wife heard that her husband was dead, she mourned for him. After the time of mourning was over, David had her brought to his house, and she became his wife and bore him a son. But the thing David had done displeased the Lord. Amen. Now, in verses 1 to 5 of this chapter, we see that at the wrong time, David is in the wrong place. He should have been, as kings do in the spring, he should have been going off to war. but he's not doing that. He sent others to do it for him. So at the wrong time, he's in the wrong place. He's there on the roof of his palace, doing the wrong thing, gazing down and then gazing lustfully at another man's wife. And he ends up doing the wrong thing with the wrong woman. The consequence of all of this, not surprising, is verse 5. The woman, her name is Bathsheba, the woman conceived and sent word to David saying, I am pregnant. And the power, the great power, which David now has as this mighty king that he's become, this power now seems to be going to his head. Because then in verses 6 to 13, okay, he sinned, he's fallen into a sin. But now David seems to be tunneling deeper and deeper into this sin. And to plan further acts of wickedness that will cover up the original and allow him to get what he wants. And so the plan goes further and deeper now to get rid of Uriah. In doing this, of course, rather surprisingly, in Uriah, David encounters a good and a faithful servant, which makes verses 14 to 25 even worse, makes what happens next so despicable. Because David, having taken his wife and committing adultery with his wife, now plans and brings about the murder of this good, faithful servant and husband, Uriah. The chapter ends, verses 26 and 27, with a dreadful punchline. All of this is going on. The tide of depravity is rising and rising and rising. But David and all the people around him, whether it's Bathsheba, she says nothing. Whether it's Joab, he just goes along with what David wants. Everybody else, and supremely David, seems very happy, very confident. All is okay. You can do all this kind of stuff and get away with it. But the dreadful punchline of the whole story at the end of verse 27, but the thing David had done displeased the Lord. I'm sure deep down inside, he knew this, but he's able to carry the whole thing off with great flair, great self-confidence. He's able to control everybody, subdue everybody, bend them to his will. Well, he's not going to bend God to his will. In fact, the Lord's going to begin to work in the next chapter to bend him, to break him, to bring him back into his will. We are all greatly challenged by this. And as this famous story or infamous story unfolds, we're challenged because we will see Galatians 6, verse 7 being put into practice. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows.